Think of the best speakers and leaders you know. I bet you they all have one thing in common. They speak with clarity and impact. We can have the best ideas in the world, but if we can't make them sticky, if we can't make them memorable for our audience, then they count for nothing. They can't live on. The best TED Talks you've watched, the best podcasts you've listened to, the best series you've binged, all have simple ideas that are sticky and memorable and leave you wanting more. The trick is to be able to distill your thinking into its simplest form. Let's face it, we've all been in boring meetings, and we've probably all been guilty of being boring in meetings. And one of the big challenges that we create for ourselves is not having that clarity of thought, so that we ramble on and people kind of lose the plot and lose their understanding of where we are and what we're actually talking about. And I'm going to stop now, because otherwise it just gets a little bit too confusing. The biggest challenge, of course, is that we're all experts. Whenever we find ourselves in a situation where we're being asked our opinion, or if we're in a meeting being asked to provide an update, it's because we know more than anyone else on that particular topic. We've been sitting there looking at it from every single angle, analysing things inside out and back to front. And when we come to share that information, we want to show people that we're on top of the brief. We want people to understand that we are experts in our field. And yet, that creates confusion because it's just too much information. And yet, that's our downfall. People feel overwhelmed, people can't follow the narrative, and people quickly lose interest. The research suggests that 7 is the magic number, 7 plus or minus 2 to be exact. That means that the average person can process 7 chunks of information in their short-term memory. For some people, it's as high as 9. For others of us, it's as low as 5. The problem is that we already have information that we're trying to keep in our short-term memory. Things like, what time do we need to pick the kids up from school, or what am I having for dinner? So if you're asking your audience to delete that information, you're getting into a fight. My recommendation is that you aim for 3. 3 things that you want your audience to take away. 3, in this case, is the magic number. Can you distill your ideas down, cut away everything else, and leave people with 3 clear messages that they can take with them? The industry that I'd encourage you to look at is actually the newspaper industry. If you think about what a headline is a story distilled into probably less than 10 words. Tabloids generally aim for somewhere between 3 and 7. Broadsheets maybe go up to 11 or 12. But the best headlines are the punchiest, they're the shortest, they're the most memorable. And even in a business context, we want to be more tabloid. We want to have that attention-grabbing headline that's going to draw our audience in and leave them wanting more. So when you're planning your key messages, whether for a meeting, an email, a presentation, or a pitch, think about the headline and then 3 subheadings. That headline is going to encapsulate the whole message. So that's your kind of fallback safety net. If people only take one thing away, they've got their headline. But ideally, those 3 subheadings are the 3 pieces of information that you want people to remember. Let me give you an example. Say I was in a sales meeting, and the key idea that I wanted to get across to the room was that our sales targets have been smashed by 12%. That's the big idea. I'm going to repeat that headline time and time again. At the beginning of the meeting, at the end of the meeting, that's the key message that I'm trying to reinforce. But sitting underneath that are my 3 subheadings, which ideally my audience are going to take away with them too. Now, of course, this can't be done in the middle of the meeting or in the middle of the presentation. So my challenge to you is to clarify your thinking before you start. Sketch it out. It needs a post-it note or a scrap of paper. What's my headline and my 3 subheadings? If you can capture that before you open your mouth or before you start typing, it's going to make you so much more clear and concise. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out my Why Life's a Pitch podcast, where each week I interview an amazing guest on how they've pitched their way to success. I'll see you in the next video.